Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome back to yet another episode on Little Sla YouTube channel. So, as you can see here, we are going to see about one of the preprocessors in JMeter today. So, we will see what is a preprocessor and what is the JSR223 preprocessor do and how does it help, and we will see with some examples of how to use JSR223 preprocessor with different scripting languages. So before we start, this is me, your son Shanmugam. I request you all to subscribe to Little Sla YouTube channel if you have not subscribed yet. Please do share the video with your friends if you really like the videos. I have videos on Neoload, LoadRunner, JMeter and various other DevOps concepts. Please do like, subscribe. And now let's move on to the video. So today we are going to see about JS223 preprocessor. So first let's see how to add this JSR223 preprocessor to the script, and before that let us create a test plan, and for that let me click on file. I'm going to templates and I'm choosing a test plan, so I'm just building a web test plan and clicking on create. So automatically I have created a test plan with the HTTP request defaults, with the HTTP cookie manager, HTTP header manager, and a dummy homepage, theme time and page returning requests. So now let's see how to add a JS223 preprocessor, and for that I'm clicking on the thread group, right click on thread group, choose add, coming to preprocessors, and the first preprocessor is JSR223 preprocessor, and I'm selecting it now. So we have added the preprocessor. Let me drag it to the top. So this is how we can add the JSR223 preprocessor, and it has various areas of it, like the name where we can change or update the name. So let me just change it to preprocessor Little Sla. You can see that here. And then we have the comments part where we can add the comments like why are we using this preprocessor, and then the most important part of this JSR preprocessor, which is the language part. And here we can see we have bean shell, that is we can write the scripts on bean shell. We have the BSH, we have options to write the scripts in Groovy. Even we can write the scripts in Java and JEXL engine and JEXL2, and even we can write in other customized language. But for now, let me choose Groovy for now. And then we have the parameters part, where if we define any of the parameter along with the type, and that can be passed to the script. And then the file name, where we can use the script file to load from the location. And then we have the option of script compilation caching, where we can compile the cache if it is available, and then the part for the script where we can directly type the Groovy script. So these are the sections of the preprocessor, and let's see what does this preprocessor do. So this JSR223 preprocessor which we see here is another way of scripting by using preprocessors. We can see that there are multiple preprocessors available with JMeter, which is the user parameters. We have HTML link parser, we have HTTP URL rewriting modifier, we have JDBC preprocessor, we have regular expression user parameters, we have sample timeout and bean shell preprocessors. So apart from this, what is the unique thing about this JSR223 preprocessor is, in fact, the main difference between this bean shell preprocessor and the JSR223 preprocessor is JSR223 preprocessor supports ECMAScript, Groovy, Java, JavaScript, as I showed you. With it has options to script using multiple languages, and in fact with using this JSR223 preprocessor we make sure that our script does not use JMeter variables directly in the script code, as there's a caching mechanism here which will only cache the first replacement, and all the next variable updates will not be available in the preprocessor at all. And this is the main advantage of using this JSR223 preprocessor. And we have already seen how to add the preprocessor in here. So let's now see with few examples here. So now we will see using Groovy script for some of the examples on how to use this preprocessor, the JSR223 preprocessor. So what we have to do now is we have to bring down the preprocessor inside the HTTP request. So I have brought it down inside the HTTP request, and the first one which we are going to see now is how to write the log files. So in cases where we are debugging this script, we might need to have this log files, where this will help us to show us where are we in the current script and how are we debugging the script. So we have three options. So let's see one by one. So for example, let me go with log.info, and I'm giving the message which is littles law info, and close it with a semicolon. So this is very important. If we don't run it without a semicolon, the script might fail. So make sure that you enter the log.info and the message inside the bracket and inside the double quotation, and close it with the semicolon, and make sure you choose the language as Groovy. So now we are going to see about various examples with Groovy language, and let me clear this and run the script here. And inside the view results tree, we won't see it, but we will see that inside the log, and for that we'll have to go to the options and click on log viewer, and we will see the log here. Let me go to the script here, and here we can see as preprocessor littles law. So this is the preprocessor that we have, and littles law info. So this is the message we get in the log, and there are various other messages as well. Let us try that. So the next one is log dot error, and let me give the same littles law error, and let me close it here, and let's run it. And here we can see that we have got the littles law info and we have got the littles law error, and there is one more log message which is the one, and let's try that as well, which is littles law 1, and I'm closing with a semicolon, and let's save it and run it. And here we can see all these three messages. So we can use this example, or we can use these statements for debugging our script. So let's now move on to the second script. So in the second example, so before that, let me close this as example 1. So this is example 1, and let's go to the example 2. And in this example, what we are going to do is we are going to write the log with the variable, and we will combine some text and variable to see how does it work. So first let me define a text. So for that we have to give define def text, and I'm giving littles law groovy, and we have to close it with a semicolon. And in the next statement we will give it with the log.info, and we'll give the text as the variable. So what we are doing here is we are defining this text in here. So we are trying to bring this value as the log.info, and in the next statement we will combine this with the text value and see how does it work. So any value that which has to come inside the double quotes. Let me give it here. The example 2 is combining with text, and to add the text we have to use the operator plus and then the value text. Let me close it with a semicolon, and let's run the script and see how does it work. And here we can see the second example. The example 2 is combining with text littles law groovy. In case if we want to add a space, we can just give a space in here, and we can see the space. So this is the example 2. So initially we started with log.info, log.error 1, and the second one is with adding a text value. We have given that in the log where we are combining it with the text. So let's now move on to the third example. So let's now see another simple example. So for that we will need a CSV variable. So in this example what we are going to do is we are going to get a variable and we are going to display it. So this will help us to mostly debug, because most of the times we might not know whether the value that we use in the CSV variables is either coming or not, or in fact in most of the cases this helps us to see whether the value that we correlate is really working or not. So in those scenarios this example will really help us to find that value. So let's see how to do that, and for that let me add a CSV variable, and for that I'm clicking on the script, the HTTP request, and adding the config element, which is the CSV dataset config, and under the dataset config I am checking the file name which I have already created with scenarios. With I just gave 3 values like 1, 2, 3, and I'm getting the value here, and I'm giving a variable name. For that the variable name is variable example. So this is the variable that we are going to define, or we are going to get from the CSV file. And now we'll go to the preprocessor, and under the preprocessor let us define the variable or the value. So I'm giving us my var, and I'm getting the value now. And before that let me just differentiate that. So this is going to be the third example for JSR223 preprocessor. Let's close it, and what we are doing now is we are defining the variable here, and the name which I'm going to give here is, so I'm getting the variable, the name, it's quite simple. So let me just take it from here. So it is variable example. So this is the value which we are going to get now from the CSV file. And the next one is log.info, and let us enter the value. So the value of my var which we have defined here is, let's close it, and to add that we have to use the operator, plus operator, and let me give the value here. Let's run the script now. So before that let's differentiate the other examples. So this is the first example, and then here is the second example, and then the third example, which is a kind of a parameterization. So we are just trying to get the value whether it is working or not, and let me run the script. And the third example is the value of my var is 1. So this is the first value which I have given in the Excel sheet out of the CSV file. So here we can see how does it really work, and let's now go to the next example. So now in this example we'll go to the next level. Instead of using the log page, let's use the debug sampler, and for adding the debug sampler let me click on the thread group, right click on it, add sampler, and I'm choosing the debug sampler. So these debug samplers are mostly used for debugging the scripts, and I've added a debug sampler here, and let me just clear all the requests. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add a value which is vars.put, and under this I'm going to add my var, and then just a quick value which is little's law. Let me close it, and let us see what happens now. So I'm running the script now, and as usual we can see all the other values, the first example here, the second, the third, and then the fourth. And then when we come to the results tree, and under the debug sampler we can see the value. So the first one is my var is equal to little's law, and then the second one is variable example equal to 1, which we have already got. If you remember, we are using the CSV dataset config file, so that is where we are trying to bring the value, and this debug sampler also will help us to see the values. So let us try with another example, and in this example what we are going to do is we are going to add another value, and for that let me do this same info where we'll just identify the example. Sorry, and this is going to be the 5th example, and let's go to the script where I'm defining a text as example 6, and then I'm going to put that value in here. So let me add my text, and the text is going to be the value which is the example 6. So let's see how does it work. I'm just saving the script before I run it, clearing all the logs, and I'm running the script now. And let's go to the view results tree, and under the debug sampler we can see the value. Let me just change it real quick. So just my text. Let me run it again. Let us see that there is a quick error, so it's defining the example 6. Let's go back to the script. So we have already the value, so let me change the name to 06, and here I will give the value of 06. Let's clear it and run the script again, and under the debug sampler we can see the value here, which is example 6. So here I have made a mistake, that is we already have defined the value, and when I'm defining it again we got that error. And now I think it's very clear that we are not supposed to do that mistake. So I'm defining it in a new value, and we can see that very clearly that the value is displayed in the debug sampler under this. So we can see the value here, example 6. And so this is how we do this debugging using the JSR223 preprocessors. So far we saw about various easy and simple examples. We will go to the next part. We'll do that in a separate video on how to manipulate these values using the Groovy script. So far I believe this video would have been very useful to you. Please do subscribe to watch the next video, don't miss it. And I believe this video would have been very useful to you. Please don't forget to subscribe, like and share the video with your friends. Until I meet you in another interesting video, it's bye from Vasan Shanmugam and Little's Law.